painting your 32mm miniatures like a pro. Let's hook our brushes around that. So what exactly makes it difficult? Painting a smaller miniature, like a 32 or 22mm miniature, compared to, well, bigatures. You know, something at the 75mm, 100mm scale. What does that really mean? How does it compare to one another? Unlike, you know, say, a bust here. A bust, you have a lot of room to add detail, a lot of detail, but that also means there's a lot of room for error that a lot of people can see like that. But then again, with something like a 32, we can still accomplish a major amount of details and not that much room for error. We can actually hide it better. Let me show you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reprime this. Let's go.
So after priming, the first thing we're going to do is the skin tones. That's going to be the most time consuming of this miniature. And unlike, you know, grabbing 2 or 3 different skin tones in a wash and then be calling it good, I find taking your time and actually painting skin tone colors on miniatures this size or even smaller helps you with brush control, understanding lights and your darks that you can put back forth to bigger miniatures. That way the smallest details on stuff like a bust can come out looking even better than beforehand because you've been painting and actually applying all these techniques to smaller miniatures. Though again, you can say at a smaller miniature, you're not going to be able to get that much detail and you're not going to be able to do the same thing with a bigger miniature. I, in fact, tried to ignore that and do it anyway. There's going to be a lot of things you're going to point out and tell that that's not right, the light wouldn't hit that way, so on and so forth. I'm still going to try, and I implore you to do the same. But then again, it's your miniature, it's your world. Paint what you like. Me, I'm going to move on and do the exact same things I would on, say, a bust. Applying my base coat, my darks, my shadows, my highlights, and my final highlights. Even, as you'll see later, makeup and the spectral highlights in the very, very small eyes that these miniatures have. So, painting the makeup, I really didn't do much to there. All I did was I grabbed a color, purple, and then I used the skin tones that I was using to up and lower the contrast values on the makeup for the eyeshadow and for the lips. That's as far as I was going to go on that. It didn't need blush, it didn't need anything else. I just grabbed a nice purple, I mixed in my skin tone colors that I was using for, you know, the final highlights and then for my shadows, and just mixed all those to a color I liked and applied them to the face. Now moving on to the eyes. I have a number 2 with a nice tip, sharp tip, with a little bit of white. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to poke. Awesome. Okay, we're going to turn it over and poke. Nope, poke. Awesome. Great. See? Easy. I went ahead and I used the same color that I did with her makeup and applied it to her fingernails. I really like the color, so went ahead and did that. Now, we're going to move on to blocking out the rest of this miniature. And we're going to start with the cape. With the cape, I could go through and I could add shadows, I could add edge highlighting, which was the intent, but after grabbing this Imperial Purple and adding 2 thin coats, I was really happy with the results. It didn't need anything else. I did not want to, well, I wouldn't say ruin, I just felt like it didn't need anything else. It was as light as I wanted it in some areas, and it was dark as I wanted it in some areas. And in fact, later on, I'm going to do the exact same thing to the rest of our clothing, but for now, we're going to go and block out the hair. With the hair, you can do the same thing as you did with your skin tones. You can add as much detail as you would, which I'm going to do in this case. And I'm going to build up on that. I wanted her to have a red-headed, ginger, Irish background. So I started with layers of red, like Ariel colors from Little Mermaid, but we needed to up that onto the more oranges. So I just went through and I started hitting all the edges, like edge highlighting, using yellow ochres and ivory to go over majority of the curls around her head. And then I grabbed a orange rust and I glazed over that. After that settled and that dried, I added a few more coats of the exact same thing using the off-white ivory and then back over with the orange. I was really happy with the results. Going back to her clothing, because of the way the cape turned out with the Imperial Purple, I did the exact same thing with the rest of her clothing. I really, really loved the way this all came out. Adding 2 thin coats, and it was as dark as I wanted in areas without adding any other color. The only thing I did was I added a little bit of that off-white ivory and mixed it in with that purple I was using just to get a little bit of some light source that would be hitting her clothing on a couple of places. I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want to ruin the looks of her outfit. Now when it comes to the rest of her clothing, it was very simple, and all I did was add a black German gray, and then I grabbed a blueberry violet. I went over the places where I knew where my light source was going to be, and then I mixed in that off-white ivory into that to make it a little bit brighter, just to go over and edge highlight and put in a couple of places where I knew the light source would be hitting those areas. That was pretty much the quickest leather that I've probably done, and the end results of it looks awesome to me. So, moving on though, we're going to tackle non-metallic gold. For this miniature and in this size, we don't necessarily have to spend hours and hours of painting non-metallic gold. In this case, I kind of did the in-between. I did a speed painting version and a, couple techniques that you would use while painting non-metallic gold. Kind of like a crossbreed. I used the same colors that I would use painting non-metallic gold. The only difference is I did majority of it wet blending. And instead of doing one thing at a time, spending like forever on just that one thing, I did all of it at the same time. I just went around and basically in a circle. I started here and then going all the way around, applying the paint, wet blending, and going through. So doing this and working it in this application is in a way, yes, speed painting, but the way we're accomplishing it makes it look you spent hours and hours and hours of time on here. That doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to. You can spend as much time as you want painting non-metallic gold on miniatures this size, and you can still get the same end results as you would on a bigger miniature. Now, when it comes to painting 32mm miniatures, or anything bigger than that, don't be scared to apply and learn all these techniques into something this small. As long as it turns out the way you want it, that's all that matters. maybe if I edge highlight that here. Welcome back, my miniature painting adventurers. Hey, thanks for staying to the very end. If you liked the video, leave a like. And if you have any questions or you want to see anything that wants to be painted, go ahead and put them comments down there for me. I'll get to them as soon as I'm done with some side quests. And if you're looking for a guild on painting miniatures, then go ahead and join and hit that subscribe button. You can become a miniature painting adventurer just like the rest of us. Thank you all so much, and of course, back to painting.